The air in the observation gallery was thin and cool, carrying the faint, clean scent of recycled atmosphere. He stood before the towering transparent alloy wall, his eyes lost in the swirling marble of Jupiter. Behind him, the quiet hum of the interstellar cruiser Dauntless was a constant, reassuring presence. He was a junior xenobotanist, assigned to the royal tour more for his expertise in Jovian lichen than for any political acumen. The visit of the monarch of the allied human systems to the outer colonies was a grand affair. And he was a speck in the machinery. His workstation was covered in spectral analysis reports, but his mind was far from work. Earlier that solar cycle, he had attended the formal reception in the Grand Concourse. The Queen had entered, a figure of quiet authority amidst the glittering uniforms and diplomatic regalia. Human space was vast and often fractious, but she held it together not through brute force, but through a perceived fragility that belied a core of fortified silk. She had spoken, her voice calm and clear, about unity and the delicate balance of ecosystems, both political and biological. He, along with everyone else, had been captivated. Now, gazing at the stormy planet, the memory replayed. He fiddled with a data slate, a sigh escaping his lips. The words were barely a breath, a private thought given accidental sound. "She is so lovely," he murmured to the stars. "But it is a terrible weight she carries alone." He did not hear the soft whisper of the hydraulic door. He did not notice the two royal guards in their polished, non-reflective armor take positions by the entrance, still as statues. He was utterly oblivious to the figure who had stepped into the gallery and now stood a few paces behind him, having gestured her attendants to silence. A minute passed. He shifted his weight, finally sensing a presence. Thinking it was his shift supervisor, he spoke without turning, his tone still wistful. "I mean, you see her on the broadcasts, but in person. The Queen is so lovely. But I didn't know." He finally turned, a casual apology for his idleness already forming on his lips. The words dissolved. His blood seemed to freeze in his veins. Standing there, not in her formal court attire, but in a simple, dark blue shipsuit, was the Queen herself. Her expression was unreadable, a calm mask of royal composure. Her eyes, however, held a glint of something not anger, but profound, arrested curiosity that the world shrunk to the space between them. He felt his face burn with the heat that could power the ship's core. Every protocol, every lesson in decorum, evaporated from his mind. He was a dead man. His career, his peaceful life among his plants, was over. He would be marooned on some airless rock for this unspeakable breach. He stumbled back a step, his heel clicking against the base of the viewport. "Your Majesty," he choked out, his voice a dry rasp. I beg your forgiveness." "I did not. I was not aware." He expected a cold dismissal. He expected the guards to seize him. He expected the end. She did none of that. She took a single graceful step forward, her hands clasped loosely behind her back. "You did not finish your thought," she said. Her voice was quieter than it had been in the concourse, softer. "You said, but I didn't know. What was it you did not know?" He could not lie. Not to those eyes. The truth spilled out, raw and unpolished. "I didn't know. How lonely it looked," he whispered, his gaze dropping to the floor. Up close. The weight of it. The lovely isolation. The silence that followed was absolute. He dared to look up. The mask had cracked, just a hairline fracture at the corner of her mouth, and in the slight softening around her eyes. She turned to look at Jupiter, its great red eye staring back. "Is that what you see?" she asked, not looking at him. "Isolation? Is it not?" The words left him before he could stop them, born from a place of pure, unguarded empathy. Everyone sees the crown, the symbol, No one sees the person who has to wear it. They cannot afford to. She was quiet for a long time. The guards might as well have been part of the ship's architecture. For 3 solar cycles, she said finally, I have toured this alliance. I have heard 1,000,000 words. Speeches of allegiance, reports on resources, diplomatic platitudes, whispered plots. Not one of them was about the weight. She glanced at him, the botanist in his simple science tunic, trembling before her. They are all about what the crown can do for them, or what they can take from it. You are the first person in a very long time to see the neck it rests upon. He had no answer. He simply stood, his panic slowly receding, replaced by a dawning, terrifying understanding. What is your name? She asked. He told her. And you study the lichen that grows on the radiation-shielded rocks of the Jovian moons. Yes, Your Majesty. Fascinating, she said, and it did not sound like a platitude. Life that thrives in absolute silence, under unimaginable pressure, anchored to barren stone. It finds a way. She turned fully to him now. Your words, however careless, were not an offense. They were an observation, a startlingly accurate one. Do you understand the difference? I think I am beginning to, Your Majesty. Good. She nodded once, a decision made. You will join me for the evening meal in my private quarters. Do not bring reports. Do not speak of politics or production quotas. You will tell me about Jovian lichen. You will tell me about the silence of space where it grows. And you will, she added, a ghost of something like a smile touching her lips, refrain from further muttering in empty rooms. They are seldom truly empty. He bowed, his mind reeling. It would be my honor. The meal was not what he imagined. The room was small, comfortable, not opulent. The food was simple. He spoke haltingly at first, then with growing passion, about his work, about how the lichen synthesized energy from impossible sources, about its slow, patient growth. She listened, truly listened, asking questions that showed a sharp scientific mind, and slowly she spoke too, not as a queen, but as a person. Of the constant pressure, the unending noise of duty, the loneliness of a position where every friendship was suspect. She spoke of the crushing responsibility of holding a fragile peace together. She did not complain, she simply stated it, as he had stated the facts of his lichen. 2 lives, existing under vastly different, yet similarly intense, forms of pressure. He left hours later, his world forever altered. He expected it to be a singular, strange event. It was not. The next day, a small data slate was delivered to his lab. It was a simple message. Your perspective is unique. It is of value. Your presence is requested for further consultation. It was signed with a single elegant initial dot, and so it began. He was not elevated to a courtier. He was given no title. But periodically, he was summoned. Sometimes to discuss xenobotany. Sometimes to walk in a ship's garden. Sometimes just to sit in a quiet room while she worked, his silent, undemanding presence a buffer against the chaos. He became, in the most unofficial and vital way, a friend, a touchstone to reality. He was her reminder that beyond the affairs of state, there was still life, simple, quiet, and enduring. The court buzzed with speculation. Who was this commoner? What was his influence? They could find no angle, no scheme, because there was none. There was only a human connection, forged from an absent-minded mutter that had been, against all odds, heard. Years later, when the Queen stood before a new galactic council, successfully navigating the first true peace treaty with the enigmatic, crystalline Talarians, many credited her diplomatic genius. Few noticed the modestly dressed man standing at the very back of the delegation, his eyes on her, calm and steady. After the historic signing, As celebrations echoed through the halls, she found a moment of quiet in another observation deck. He was there, as she knew he would be, watching the unfamiliar stars of this new sector. "You never did say it to my face, you know," she said softly. Coming to stand beside him, he smiled, still looking at the stars. "Say what, Your Majesty?" "That I am lovely," she replied, a genuine, unguarded amusement in her voice. He finally looked at her, this woman who carried worlds, his friend beneath the crown. "Some truths," he said, his voice filled with quiet warmth, "are too precious to be spoken aloud. They are simply known." She nodded, and together they watched the stars in a comfortable, understanding silence. The loveliness was not in the words, but in the seeing. And he had seen her, truly seen her, from the very beginning. In a universe of noise and demand, that silent recognition had been the greatest gift a subject could ever give a queen. It was a very human kind of magic.